The SMS Greif was a unique ship in the German Navy. It was built in the 1880s. The development of torpedoes and torpedo boats had produced a weapons system that could effectively challenge powerful ironclad warships. This led to the development in France of the Jeune École doctrine that emphasized the use of cheap torpedo boats and cruisers instead of expensive ironclads. As other navies, including Germany's, began to adopt the strategy, German planners saw the need for small warships capable of defending the fleet against attacking torpedo boats. The Naval Command called for a top speed of 19 knots, which would allow the vessel to also operate as a scout for the fleet. To keep weight limited, the armament was to consist of a pair of 4.1-inch guns. The ship proved to be a disappointment in service, and she spent little time as a frontline combat unit. The SMS Greif was 99.5 meters long at the waterline and 102.6 meters long overall. She had a beam of 9.75 meters and a draft of 4.22 meters forward and 4.34 meters aft. The ship was designed to displace 2,050 metric tons, and at full loading she displaced 2,266 metric tons. Her hull was constructed with transverse steel frames, and it contained 12 watertight compartments. Unlike the other avisos and cruiser-type vessels built for the German fleet at the time, Greif carried no armor protection. Greif was a mediocre seaboat and was moderately handy. She pitched slightly but rolled significantly more. Her transverse metacentric height was 0.48 meters. The ship had a crew of 7 officers and 163 enlisted men, though the latter later increased to 178. Greif carried several smaller boats, including 1 picket boat, 2 cutters, 1 yawl and 1 dinghy. Machinery. Greif's propulsion system consisted of 2 horizontal 2-cylinder double-expansion engines built by AG Germania, which drove a pair of 4-bladed screw propellers that were 4 meters wide in diameter. Steam for the engines was provided by 6 cylindrical, double-ended, coal-fired fire tube boilers split in 3 boiler rooms. Each boiler room was ducted into its own funnel. In 1906, she was re-equipped with 8 new cylindrical boilers in 2 boiler rooms, which slightly improved her performance. She was equipped with a pair of generators for electrical power. They had a combined output of 20 kilowatts at 67 volts. Steering was controlled with a single rudder. The ship's propulsion system was rated at 5,400 metric horsepower for a top speed of 18 knots. On trials, Greif reached 5,431 metric horsepower and 18.2 knots. With the new boilers, her engines could reach 5,795 metric horsepower and 19.1 knots on speed trials. She could carry up to 350 metric tons of coal, which provided a range of approximately 2,180 nautical miles at a cruising speed of 12 knots. After her refit, she could carry 436 metric of coal, which increased her range to 3,960 nautical miles at 10 knots. Armament. Unlike the other avisos built by the German Navy, which carried torpedo tubes as their primary armament, Greif was armed only with guns. As built, the ship was armed with a main battery of 2 4.1-inch KL-35 guns placed in individual pivot mounts. She carried a secondary battery of 10 1.5-inch Hotchkiss revolver cannon, also in individual pivot mounts. In 1906, the ship was rearmed with 8 8.8 centimeters SKL-35 guns in single mounts and 6 revolver cannon. Later in her career, 2 of the 8.8 centimeters guns and 2 revolver cannon were removed. The SMS Greif had a relatively short career. The keel for Greif was laid down in October 1885 at the Germania Werft shipyard in Kiel. She was launched on the 29th of July 1886, and her christening was performed by Vice Admiral Wilhelm von Wickede, the commander of the Marine Station der Ostsee, Baltic Sea Naval Station. After completing fitting out, she was commissioned for sea trials on the 9th of July 1887. Initial testing continued until the 15th of September, and she was decommissioned in Kiel on the 17th of October. She remained out of service until the 19th of March 1889, when she was recommissioned in Wilhelmshaven for fishery protection patrols in the North Sea. She operated primarily off the East Frisian Islands during this period, though her duties to protect German territorial waters were interrupted from mid-March to mid-April to escort the screw corvette Alexandrine, which had Kaiser Wilhelm II aboard. Alexandrine was on her way to an overseas deployment, and Wilhelm II also wanted to greet the training squadron corvettes, which were returning from their cruise in the Mediterranean Sea. Greif again accompanied the Kaiser, this time aboard his yacht Hohenzollern on a cruise from June 24th to August 10th that saw the ships steam as far north as Nordkap, Norway, and then to Cowes, Britain. After returning to Germany, Greif served as a scout during fleet training exercises until August 30th. She was then decommissioned in Kiel on the 30th of September. On October 10, 1890, the Navy established the Torpedo Trials Command to further develop the torpedo arm of the fleet. This work had previously been carried out by the Torpedo Workshop in Friedrichsort. Greif was attached to the command on the 1st of November to assist with testing operations in Kiel Bay. This work was interrupted on April 2, 1891, when Greif embarked Wilhelm II to greet the screw corvette Carola, then returning from German East Africa, where the Abu Shiri revolt had recently been suppressed. On June 10th, Greif went into the dry dock at the Kaiserliche Werft in Kiel for modernization, which included the replacement of her main battery. Work was completed on the 21st of August, followed by sea trials in Danzig Bay through November. The year 1892 passed uneventfully, with the only event of note being Greif's participation in the fleet training maneuvers from August 30th to September 5th. Greif underwent a thorough overhaul from April 17, 1893 to October 2nd, thereafter returning to service with the Torpedo Trials Command. This duty ended on the 31st of October 1894 when she was decommissioned. She remained out of service until the 5th of May 1897, when she was recommissioned for service with the fleet as a scout and wireless support ship. She was assigned to the 2nd Division, 1st Squadron, to support its flagship König Wilhelm. As part of the unit, she took part in training exercises in the North Sea and later the Baltic, followed by a cruise in company with Wilhelm II and Kaiserin Augusta Victoria to Kronstadt, Russia in August. Upon the squadron's return to German waters later that month, the ships took part in the annual fleet maneuvers. Following their conclusion, Greif embarked Prince Heinrich of Prussia on the 22nd of September. The torpedo boat S-26 had sunk in a severe storm in the mouth of the Elbe that day. Aboard had been Duke Friedrich Wilhelm zu Mecklenburg, and Heinrich had wanted to take part in the search and salvage effort. In December, Greif was assigned to the 1st Division and she joined the battleships on a winter cruise to Christiania, Norway. While the divisional flagship Kurfürst Friedrich Wilhelm was in dock for repairs, Greif served in her place from December 29th to February 20th, 1898, with Admiral August von Thomson aboard. 2 days later, Greif herself went into dock for periodic maintenance, particularly to her boilers, which were badly worn out. Repairs were completed by May 13th, at which point she returned to the 1st Squadron, joining the ships in Kirkwall, Scotland on May 19th. At the end of the month, she was reassigned to the 2nd Division, thereafter participating in the summer and autumn maneuvers that took place in the North and Baltic Seas. During the latter exercises, Greif collided with the torpedo boat S-71 on the 23rd of August, though neither vessel was seriously damaged. She operated as part of the 1st Scouting Group, which also included the aviso Hela and the special ship Pelican. In the first half of December, Greif and the rest of the 2nd Division visited Swedish ports. She also served as the division flagship during this period until December 17th. Greif was withdrawn from frontline service on the 1st of April 1899, thereafter taking part in experiments with wireless equipment. She was then assigned to the Naval Artillery Inspectorate as a training ship and was based in the Kieler Ford. She rejoined the fleet to take part in the annual maneuvers from early August to September 13th. The ship then went into dry dock for another overhaul before returning to training duties. On July 8, 1900, she joined Hohenzollern for a cruise to Molde, Norway, and Esbjerg, Denmark, arriving back in Bremerhaven, Germany, on July 27th. She again served as a fleet scout during the maneuvers in August and September that concluded in Swinemunde on September 15th. She was decommissioned for the last time on the 22nd of September, and in 1901, underwent another thorough overhaul that included the installation of new boilers. She was transferred to the list of special ships on June 21, 1911, and on October 25, 1912, was struck from the Naval Register. During World War I, she was hulked on October 25, 1915, and used as a training ship for engine room crews. Beginning in 1917, she was employed as a mine storage hulk based in Kiel-Heikendorf. She was sold to shipbreakers in Hamburg in 1921. This marked the end of the ship. The SMS Greif was a relatively successful warship. However, it was an interesting example of German naval engineering. It showed the German Navy's desire for innovation. The Greif's unique design served as a learning experience. It influenced future German warships. That's the end of this video. Like, subscribe, leave a comment down below.